What's up, guys? So Xiaomi sent over their POCO M6 Pro. This is a budget phone. It's supposed to compete with like the lower Galaxy A series, and I'll show you guys what's in the box here. I think Xiaomi is the only company that really still gives you a really nice unboxing experience these days, even with the flagship. So you get the case, and you also get the 67-watt charger that comes in the box, and you get the USB Type-C. Like I said, I've been using it for a little bit, and let's go ahead and go over the phone. Now, this is going to be a $200-ish phone. Now, there is like already a POCO M6 Pro version, but this is the global version. So the specs are a little bit different here. But let's go ahead and go over the hardware real quick. It's a beautiful phone to look at. I think this is a absolutely really nice phone to look at. Just really big cameras. Now, it is a plastic phone, so it has that plasticky, feel to it. There's no metal or anything. Here, it's IP54 dust and water resistant. It has that two-tone design. It is a glossy back, so it will pick up a ton of fingerprints and stuff like that. But for the design, I'm like, wow, I'm really impressed. I really like how this phone looks as far as the hardware. And then we have our power button, volume rockers on here as well. And yeah, so this phone, I think it looks actually pretty good. It doesn't look like a budget phone to me. So let's talk about the chipset on here. It is the Helio G99 Ultra processor. It has micro SD card support, which is always nice to see. 256 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. This one here is the 512 gigabyte version and 12 gigs of RAM. We'll get Android 14. Currently it's on Android 13, but you can see how this phone pretty much benchmarks. It's not super powerful device. We can see it's not even out benchmarking the POCO X3 Pro. So you can kind of see it's not even beating the A52s. So not a super powerful phone for the most part, but I can't lie, it is pretty smooth. I think these Helio processors have come a long way from a few years ago when I used to test them out, and they would be lagging all over the place, but this is actually pretty smooth. So it's pretty interesting how these like super cheap phones are starting to become really fast in terms of just smooth, being able to just do normal stuff without lagging all over the place. I think that's pretty cool. So here's pretty much what you can expect with the gaming performance on here. You're gonna get smooth ultra or balanced ultra for the best settings here. But yeah, I don't really see this as like actual gaming phone. If you want to do like a really good gaming experience, I would go obviously for an older flagship or something like that. But yeah, the gaming experience is just okay on this phone. It's not anything too crazy. It's able to play PUBG. You're just not gonna be at the absolute best settings. But if you're just a casual gamer, you come in here, you want to play PUBG, Call of Duty Mobile, you just get a couple matches in. You don't really care about playing at 60 frames and stuff like that. This phone does a pretty good job. So again, it's not like a gaming phone, but it does somewhat of a decent job with overall performance. It wasn't getting hot when I was playing games on it either. So overall, the experience is not bad at all. As you can see, it's not really like lagging like crazy. So like I said, very impressive, because I'm just thinking about just 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like playing these games would be a nightmare. But it's actually pretty decent, even though we're not at the best settings. It's still somewhat decent. Also, guys, let's talk about some of the other features here. I forgot to mention that this phone does have a headphone jack up top, which is a big deal for anybody who really needs to use wired headsets. I know a lot of people, they prefer that because they lose the little wireless earbuds. So you might be really happy that has this. And as far as MIUI, this is running MIUI 14, the global version, and yeah, it's fast, guys. I'm pretty impressed. I'm not the biggest fan of MIUI, especially how they do the app drawer. I just don't like how they do it. But yeah, it kind of looks like iOS a little bit as well, especially the control panel. But yeah, what do you guys think about MIUI? It's usually like split. It's usually like either people hate it or they like it. So what do you guys think? but I think MIUI is decent. It has quite a bit of customizations that you can do in the settings as well too, as you can get really in depth here with these settings. So I think it's gotten better over the years for sure. So this phone does have a under the display fingerprint sensor, of course, and it actually is somewhat smooth. It's not really that slow at all. It almost feels like it's on par with like a ultrasonic, how fast it is. So like a light tap won't work, but just like a little bit of pressure, so it's really not that bad. It is kind of weird how it's all the way at the bottom though. I wish it was kind of more towards the center. But you can use face unlock as well too. I'm actually pretty impressed with these speakers. There's a good amount of bass with the speaker quality, and they actually sound pretty crispy and clear. So I'm actually pretty impressed with the speaker quality. Even if you cover the bottom one, the speakers are actually pretty good on here. Alright, so let's talk about the screen on here. So the screen on here is actually pretty decent. It's a 6.67 inch AMOLED display at 120 Hertz. It is 1300 nits peak brightness, so even if you're outdoors, the screen does still a pretty decent job, especially for this price point. It's an AMOLED display, 1080p 395 for the PPI, and of course we got that 120 Hertz on here, so it's a buttery smooth display. Yeah, no issues with the display. Really nice and vibrant. Pretty slim bezels on here as well too, and yeah, I don't have anything negative to say about this screen as well. So it's a pretty nice screen. It's completely flat as well too. So I actually do like the display on here. Now let's talk about the cameras on here. So you can definitely tell, this is where, the budget phone pretty much comes in. It says 64 megapixel standard, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, has a 2 megapixel macro, and then it can only shoot in 1080p 60 on the front and back with a 16 megapixel selfie cam on here. So the photos were pretty much what you would expect. I mean, they were, I guess, just average looking photos for the most part. If you're in good lighting, you can get a pretty somewhat decent shot out of this phone. But, it's just okay. It's not like crazy, gonna give you like any kind of crazy shots or anything. It's just gonna give you a usable shot. If you're in any type of low lighting, you can expect for the camera to give you a kind of a softer image, stuff like that, basically. Like I said, the video is not too bad. It's just kind of okay too. So it's not a horrible photo taker. It's just, just average. I give it like a C+. But yeah, you do have a lot of software stuff in here with the Xiaomi application as well too, that I really like. The slow motion, time lapse, long exposure on here. The night photography is kind of okay, but there is like a pro mode on here as well too, which is really nice, so you can take advantage of that. Now this phone does have an infrared port as well too, so if you want to use this phone as a remote controller, that is one of the main reasons why I really love these Xiaomi phones, is because you can use them as a remote controller to control your TV, microwave. It's really nice. Now let's talk about the battery life as well too. I think that's one of like the main things with this phone that's gonna set it apart from like the Samsung Galaxy phones. One, they give you the actual 67-watt charger in the box. Two, the battery life lasts really long on this phone. It's really impressive. So it's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and I've had no issues with battery life on here. It's been a really good experience. The phone easily can last all day. And like I said, once it gets dead, you can just charge it up really quickly, and that's something that I really like with Xiaomi. So they give you the charger brick on a very cheap phone, which is something that I really like. All right, so be sure to let me know what you guys thought of the POCO M6 Pro, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.